or fist bump, you know. Yeah.
Oh no, that's the first thing you did, right?
It's nice to meet you, Melianis.
Okay, all right.
Nice to meet you, Mayar.
All right.
Hi, nice to meet you, Marie.
All right.
Nice to meet you. My name is Esther.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah, getting the steps in.
Ollie.
Yeah, okay.
Let's bring it out of our chair.
All right.
I'm sorry, you see I just wrote that
Oh,
note.
no, that's good. Hey, how's it going?
I'm awesome now. Hold up.
Good vibes out of
All right,
him.
nice to meet you.
Oh, no, I'm like him.
One
Hold
thing
up.
I'll say, I'm pretty good with faces, names. I'll try
We
to
got
catch them
you.
on and
We
get
got
them, you know,
you.
as we go along. But
He, him pronouns for me.
okay, what did you say?
He, him pronouns. If you
He,
have to
him.
refer to
Okay,
me.
thank you, thank you.
Okay. So, I'll start off. Okay, so I'm Mayar Bilhadi. I'm the panel leader for this interview, and yeah, I'm a panel leader, and I've been at CMSD for about 6 or 7 years, and we're hoping to cover 6 questions
Okay.
in the next 35 minutes. We have exactly 45 minutes, but at the end, we'll give you 10 minutes to ask any questions you would like. And if you want us to repeat any of them, just tell us and we'll do that.
All right.
So yeah, I'll just let the panelists.
I'm Eliani Soto, and I've been in CMSC since 4th grade.
All right. What school do you attend?
I am currently attending John Marshall School of Information and Technology.
And I didn't catch your school.
Oh, Cleveland School of Science and Medicine.
Okay.
I'm Ree, and I go to the, I'm gonna go to the Cleveland School of the Arts next year.
Awesome.
My name is Ezra Peckham. I go to Campus International downtown, and I've been in CMSD for 7 years.
Okay. Great.
I'm Tavion. I attend the Cleveland School of the Arts, and I've been in and out of CMSD.
All right.
Ollie, Garrett Morgan School of Engineering and Innovation, and I've been here since last year.
All right.
Hill Smith. I went to Bureau Language. Well, I am currently in Bureau Language Academy, and I'm 13.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, my name is Arday Perry, and I go to Mound, but I will be soon a graduate of John Hay Cleaver Early College. Shout out.
My name is Jasmine Trowell. I've been in CMSD since preschool, and I go to Cleveland Early College.
All right.
My name is Noah Nunny, and I go to Cleveland School of Science and Medicine.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm excited. Anytime I can meet with students, it brightens up my day. But I also know you guys are my toughest crew I had, so I'll have to be on my best behavior.
Okay, we'll start off with question number 1.
Yeah.
Students have overcome one of many roadblocks in the last 3 years. It's the infamous COVID-19 virus. We were in electronics, and now we are converting back to in-person school. And it isn't working. School is draining, and we want to get back to having fun and being engaged in our learning while meeting the state standards, but in a fun way. So, can you share an example of how you have supported students and staff in your current leadership role to successfully reconnect with in-person 21st century learning?
Yeah, no, thank you for that question. So, a little bit about myself. So, I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago with many schools that were similar to CMSD. I'm grateful for the education I received when I was in school, and even though I did very well, what hooked me in school, like what was the thing that got me going in school, were the activities that I was a part of. Not only the sports I played, but the arts. I play 4 instruments, also tap dance. So these were just different programs that actually helped me stay in school. And what I found as an educator, as a teacher, a school leader, and then now at the central office, a lot of times when we're trying to figure out how to make sure that students are learning well, we put more academic programs in the school, but we take away the fun things, or the things that students are really, that are keeping them in school. And so one of the things that I've led the effort in Indianapolis in doing is really making sure that we have an enrichment programs team within our district. So enrichment programs thinks about all the after-school activities, thinks about our sports programs as well. And we found that our student athletes and also students that are participating in programs actually have higher academics. They have higher attendance rates. And so I'm a huge advocate, not only just from my own personal experience when I was in school, of how the programs, the fun aspects of school can actually change a child's trajectory in life. And that's one of the reasons in Indianapolis we're doing our Rebuilding Stronger plan, because it's just so important. And so I used to work in Cleveland, and so I was in the system prior to the pandemic. And so if I was CEO, one of the first things I would want to do is go into the schools and see what's happening, see what are some of those programs that students would want to bring back. And most important, I would want to make sure that no matter where you live in the city, no matter how you identify, that all students have equal access to those programs. So.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. As a CEO, how will you make sure that all schools have the same opportunities, technology, and supplies? And what's your plan to rebuild older schools?
Yeah, you said the last part was rebuild older schools. So yeah, that kind of goes along that same vein around what we're doing in Indianapolis around rebuilding stronger. In Indianapolis, much like many cities, it's within the same district. It's almost like the tale of two cities. If you are rich, sometimes if you're white, within our system right now, those schools actually have more programs than some of the schools on our east side of the city in Indianapolis, and then also on the far south side of the city and west side of the city. And so the charge that I've been leading with our academics team is really thinking about the programs that are in each of our schools, not only those after-school programs, but also the curriculum. In Indianapolis, over the time I've been there, we've adopted a new curriculum that is the same in all of our schools. It shouldn't be that if you attend a certain school or live on a certain side of the city that you have access to some programs or higher level programs. We need to make sure that that's equitable across all of our system. And then with that, our operations team is working with academics, which is the team that I lead, to make sure that there's transportation to our schools and that the programs that we're replicating, whether it's IB, Montessori, visual and performing arts, are accessible across the city. And so it shouldn't have to be that you have to travel so far. I mean, I know Cleveland, from when I was here and I supervised schools, I supervised some schools all the way up in the Glenville neighborhood, and then others as far south as like Atlee Stevenson. And so you could be traveling very far if you live that far, or traveling to your school. And so I would want to think about how are those programs, how are we making sure that there's high quality programs in every neighborhood within the city.
Thank you.
All right, my question is, how will you connect with our generation and create more opportunities for us in this politically complex world? Most highlighted, how will you connect with our generation to create more opportunities?
Yeah, I'm starting to find out that I'm not as young as I thought I once was. I still feel like I'm you guys' age. So when you keep saying our generation, I'm like, hey, I'm not in the generation now. I think it's really important to listen to our students. I think the opportunity that each of you have in this time, not only with just the digital age that you guys are dealing with and the access that you guys have, you have so much access to so many programs that I didn't coming up, and that's an advantage. But I also think kids are dealing with, trauma and things at higher levels than I could never imagine. As great as social media is, I know the challenges of it. Even when I was a high school principal, social media wasn't as big as it is now. And so it could be a huge asset, but it also could be a challenge. And so I know that there's a student advisory council. That's something I will want to continue to do. Actually, when I was here in Cleveland, my network, I had a student advisory council as well. And that's really important to just listen to our students, make sure that there's wellness programs, social emotional learning. Also making sure that many different identities are represented, not only just racial identity, gender identities, how students identify. There's so many different groups, and our kids need to be seen and heard and felt in schools. And that I can only hear that from students. And so that's really important for me and top of mind, being proximate to the work, getting out into the community to hear what's top of mind for our kids.
Thank you.
The next question is, we would appreciate your thoughts on this current scenario. In CMSD, we have received a $20 million grant from Mackenzie Scott. The funds are going to be used to improve the lives of students, parents, and staff members in CMSD. How will you assess, organize, and manage the distribution process? If you'd like me to repeat that, I can.
So I'll just recap. So $20 million from Mackenzie Scott, which I do believe that's a real thing, that you guys were one of the recipients.
Oh yeah, that's
so
very large.
congratulations, yeah. That was well coveted. But you're asking, giving all the dollars, how would I assess how it
How
will
do
be
you
used?
assess, organize, and manage the distribution process of this 20 million grant?
Yeah. So yeah, as I mentioned, that's a huge investment and also a huge celebration. But anytime when there are dollars that are given, you have to really think about how it's going to meet the needs. And so in Indianapolis, we're not a recipient of the Mackenzie Scott grant, but we have been the recipient of the federal recovery dollars, known as ESSER. It's all districts, even Cleveland has. What my team has had to do is really think about any project that they're trying to bring forward. It needs to be aligned not only to our strategic plan, which there are two important initiatives within our strategic plan. One, making sure that all students have quality to a high quality curriculum, or access to a high quality curriculum that's culturally relevant, and then our racial equity policy. For me, I'm looking at how each of those projects are aligned to that. I'm also looking for impact. I'm really big on data, and for me, just as important as it is to get out into the community and listen and hear stories from people, it's really important to see actually how our system is performing. In Indianapolis, the programs that we've been able to invest in using the ESSER dollars helped us last year have some of the biggest gains in the state. Last year, we were #1 in the state in terms of our growth on English language arts and also in math. And in English language arts, we were the only district to surpass where we were pre-pandemic. So when other districts were losing learning recovery, we were gaining. Our graduation rates reached 80%, and we've been growing over each year, where the state has been decreasing. And so you need to look at data and make sure that any dollars that you're using, any projects you're going to do, you're assessing it by looking at the data, but also aligning it to the needs. And so in that scenario, that's what I would do. I would really want to look at what the need is, how does it align to the priorities we're doing as a district, how can we manage it, and then also what impact is it having.
Thank you.
All right, so my question is how have you in previous leadership roles been visible and available to students in order to build relationships? And how have you responded to student concerns like access to high quality nutrition, ongoing transportation issues, lack of resources for mental health and mental well-being, and ensuring all students access to excellent programs, especially athletics?
Visibility is really important. As I mentioned, I've been a teacher, I've been a principal, and also have led at the district office. When I was here in Cleveland and also as a principal in Chicago, I had a student advisory council, and so that has helped. In particular, when I was a principal in Chicago, that student advisory council, we met with the mayor, and at the time in Chicago, the mayor was Rahm Emanuel. We took them to forums such as that. We've taken them down to the State House. And so I think it's really important as a leader to work with your students for all the things that I will be advocating for as CEO, that you bring the students involved in that. And so that would be a way of really staying visible. But I also think accessibility, especially in the role I have now as the academics department, where in Indianapolis it's such a huge department. And I have many of my team members that are out in the school and making sure that programs are doing what they're supposed to do. And so my team is needs to be just as strong as I am, and because I cannot be in all places at once. And so it's really important just knowing that the team is out there doing the work, hearing from constituents. One of my favorite stories from a student recently, one of our seniors at one of our high schools in Indianapolis, he sent me an email, and he reached out and was like, I'm so proud of our swimming program. Our swimming program has 41 swimmers this year. It's like 41. But he said, we don't have no pool to practice in. And he said, what you going to do about it? And I'm like, all right, and I appreciate that push from a student saying, what you're going to do about it. I went to this school with my athletic director, and we met with him, his coach, as well as his principal. He came in a suit, he was ready, you know, and I was dressed in jeans and a sweatshirt, so I felt really underdressed, but had his points ready. And not only talked about why it was important for the swimming program, but he talked about why it was important for minority swimmers. He said there's just not a lot of access. And so from that meeting, my athletic director, as well as my executive director of enrichment programs, a few weeks ago, we went to one of the local universities that has a huge natatorium, and we're working on a partnership. Well, we currently already have a partnership where we're able to do swim classes in PE in that natatorium, but also think about from a practice facility and then also from a competition. And so those will be ways I will be looking at that. Also with transportation, that's huge with us in Indianapolis on our operations team to make sure that there's accessible transportation, that it's safe routes to school, and yeah, those are things I will be looking at.
Thank you.
Please share an example of a time you have had to respond to a significant safety or violence issue in a school in your previous roles. What was the scenario and what was the outcome? How do you envision collaborating with community partners to ensure safe learning environments for all students, both at school and in the Cleveland community?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And this one is one I'm very serious about, just because, you know, I talked about all the things that students have to deal with now, and I just cannot imagine, you know, the things that have been going on across the country right now in terms of just the safety of our buildings. I just take that very seriously. For me, any building that we have is like my home, and if you're coming into my home to do harm, I have issues with that. And so I'm really big on making sure our schools are safe and want to protect it. And have had to deal with situations where there are emergencies in the school. The thing that's really important, though, in those cases, none as egregious as the things that you're hearing across the nation, but there have been serious incidents. There are two things that help me in that situation. One, staying calm. I believe in the philosophy as a leader. Have you ever heard of being a duck? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, for those who haven't heard it, you know, you're calm on the surface, even though you're pedaling on the inside. And so as a leader, you just have to be very calm under those situations. People are looking to you. And I'm a firm believer that, you know, when you have systems in place, when you have good people that are working towards things, you can be calm in those situations because everything is going to work out. And so I stay calm to make sure everything is put in place. But then also we have protocols. I think about a situation that we had to respond to in the school. We had our crisis team that was there. They had therapists and counselors that were able to meet with students that needed to meet there. We were able to contact parents, and parents were well informed. And then not only did we have the supports around the therapists and the wellness supports on that day, we had it throughout the week. And that's because we have those systems that are put in place. And so you need to be ready for these things. You never want challenges to happen or for emergencies to happen, but you need to be ready for them. And when they do happen, remaining calm and putting those systems in place. And so one of the things I would do as CEO, I put it in my entry plan, which I'll pass them around in just a moment for you guys to take a look at them. I'll need to collect them back. But I would want to do those audits. I would want to go into schools and look at what are our safety protocols. Are there secure walkways? Is it safe to get to and from school? Those would be things I will be looking at. I'll pass those around just as you guys are getting ready to ask the next question.
So we have, since we do have the time, there's one question that came up.
Okay.
The question is, so as we know, there's the opening for the new CEO, and let's say you do get this position. Thank you.
I don't have enough, and I need these back. Would you guys take a look?
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
what would be something that you would like to or want to change about CMSD if you get elected as the CEO?
So first, I always like to start with celebrations. And I want to name, like when I was in the system, that was almost 10 years ago. And there's been so much progress. When I think about the Cleveland plan, when I think about what the system has been able to do in this time, the district has changed a lot, and I would want to celebrate that. I think the biggest thing I would want to change, it's twofold. I would want to create a sense of optimism and hope with the community and our students and our kids and what's possible. I would want to work with the community on that. And I would also want to ensure that we're offering high-quality programs in every one of our buildings. So whether that is the curriculum that we're using, whether that is access to CTE programs and pathways, these would be all things I would want to work on, but those would be top priorities. And along with that, you can't get anything done without building relationships. So it would be very important to build relationships with students, with teachers, as well as our family and community members. Mhm.
So much. So we do have a little time left, a lot of time, but we're leaving the rest of the time for you to ask any questions that you have for us.
Yeah.
Anything you want.
Yeah, so, hearing many of you, you've been in CMSD for a while. And so I would want to know, I guess before I ask what you want to see change, what are you most proud of?
I could go first again.
Yeah.
One thing I'm most proud of, I think, at least now that I'm getting older, I can tell that there's more community outreach and the students have more of a voice with the Mackenzie Scott thing. There's been a student board where we decide what to do with the money, and then the student advisory council for sure. I've been a part of that a few times, and it's really nice to have your voice heard in that sense. And then another thing is the teachers in CMSD. Really, they really do care, from football coaches to regular teachers to everybody, to my parents who are both teachers, that they really do care, and they really care about the students a lot.
That is awesome. One quick follow-up for you on football. What school do you attend again? You said?
Cleveland School of Science and Medicine.
Okay, do you have your own football team, or do you guys have to go to a larger high school to participate in?
So we're all part of John Hay, so we're on that campus.
the John Hay
Yeah,
campus, yeah.
but we don't have a field, so usually we just play on outside. There's this oval. We play there.
Okay.
Or I know when it comes towards playoffs, we'll go to Collinwood or Case Western.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, do you? I agree with Noah saying how teachers are really important because they can have an everlasting effect on a student, and it's important to have a teacher that cares about you. I have a teacher who I really like. Her name is Miss Johnson. I really like her. But she does checkups with everybody. She's like, "How are you guys feeling today? How are you doing?" And then she'll get on with her day. She's very easy to connect with and she's a very good teacher, and I really like her.
That's awesome. That's good.
I agree with what she was saying. I have a teacher. She's my AP language teacher. And I like her because, when we had her for creative writing, we had our journals and stuff. We used to, write every day how we felt. And, she used to, have these prompts and then, with quotes and stuff. And then, we would tell what we meant about the quote and stuff, how is our week going and stuff like that. And also, I like how we have Say Yes. I like that because I feel like every student is given the opportunity to have a scholarship. And I feel like most schools, not in CMSD, don't got that, but I'm really glad that our school, CMSD district, has that, because I feel like some people think that they can't get into college because they don't have the money and stuff. And then when it's with Say Yes, we can get into it, and then we don't got to think about certain stuff because of that.
That's awesome. Are you getting ready for your AP exam, your AP Lang?
Yeah, May 8th or May 9th, one of the two.
Yeah. Okay. Well, send you goodbye.
Thank you.
All right, two things. I have a question from a CMSD parent.
Okay.
One is, in the days of CEO Barbara Bird Bennett, CMSD used to partner with Tri-C, the Music Settlement, and other community venues to back up their music programs. Since all can go to one school, therefore Cleveland School of the Arts, everyone cannot go to that certain school, but everyone's interested in that. So how can we get back to that, or will that ever happen again with all the music and arts and things of that sort?
Yeah, and thank you for lifting that question. There are a few approaches that I would approach that question. One, I think utilizing our university partnerships to make sure that there are programs in every school that can do that. So it doesn't have to be that we have multiple different fine arts academies across the school, but do we have access to fine arts programs and curriculum within all of our schools. I think that's really important. We need to think about how all kids are trained in the arts, whether that's something they want to specialize in or just do. Same thing with, on the arts side as well as on the athletic side. It's just important for students to try all types of programs. And so I would want to make sure that there's a baseline of programs that we have across the board. And there's some operational implications for that. The other thing I would say to your question, and it goes back to me thinking about our Rebuilding Stronger plan we're doing in Indianapolis, we're dividing our city up into zones. And through those 4 zones, making sure that there are programs that are accessible to students in each one of those quadrants of the city. So it doesn't have to be that there is one. You could have a program like a Montessori school that is in your neighborhood. You don't have to travel far for it. And so these would be things I would want to at least look at. I've gotten questions before where people have asked, like, oh, is that something you're automatically going to do? And the benefit of being in many different school districts is you learn a lot of different practices, but you want to also learn what's going to work in CMSD. And so I would want to spend time on the ground, seeing what's going to work in our schools, and then also hearing from students and families about what's needed.
And you also said that you're data-driven, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
All right. We're on at least the 110th day of the year, but there's been more mass shootings than 110. And not giving the schools that's been affected, but it's been over 150. So on average, that's 2 per week. And at my school, we have 1 security officer. And sometimes she may not be able to be at the building. So I feel like there should be 2 at each building, and safety needs to be increased, because at any time, at any moment, someone can open fire, and the government has it now to where it's easy to get a weapon of any kind. So with the question about the politically complex world, I feel like safety and security should be implemented more. Like the fire drills, those should happen every month like they should. The tornado drills should happen every quarter like they should. The code blue or code red drills should happen every semester. I feel like if we continue to follow that pattern, it'll be better, but we need an extra safety plan. And we need those extra safety people who will help. So I feel like safety and security should be at an all-time high at all CMSD schools.
I absolutely agree. And what's your name again?
Arday Perry.
You say
Arday Perry.
Arday. Well, as I mentioned, I'll be wanting, if I'm the CEO, I would want to do those audits and walks. And if I'm CEO, I'll be calling on you, because with your passion, as you're thinking about, I want to help you think about these things. Plus, you shared that data in a way that resonates with me, as you mentioned it being data-driven. But on a serious standpoint, it's really important that we look at these things. And what's exciting is to know that Mayor Bibb is committed to this. I was listening to the State of the City address, and also hearing that Cleveland is doing a lot of innovative things to think about data-driven practices towards community reform, police reform, and then also doing some of that advocacy work from a policy level down in Columbus around what we can do to change some of those laws you were mentioning. So bravo for bringing that up. And also,
I completely agree with that, because it's important that we have to feel safe. And I think in my school, we need to do more drills based on different things that probably couldn't happen, but could if it was in an unsafe situation. And we need to have security guards that care about the students, because some security guards go there just to collect paychecks, and sometimes they don't consider the well-being of the children, and they have to put that into retrospect so that they understand what they're doing. And I do have a security guard who does not completely care about everybody, and one that is very nice and everybody gets along with, but puts some things into priority, and then sometimes other things get left behind. So I think it's important that we have better security in our schools.
Yeah, no, thank you for lifting that. I appreciate it.
Sorry, if you.
Oh, no. Well, I saw a couple of hands, but I didn't know how we were doing on time. Yeah.
We have a,
We have time, okay. Let me go here and I'll come back here because I don't know if I heard.
I wanted to go back to that safety thing.
Yeah.
So I already told people this, but somebody tried to commit harm or did commit harm in the school bathroom. I wanted to know if we can have our metal detectors in our school. We only have one security guard, thank goodness. Shout out to Mr. Knight. He's like really cool interacting with students and stuff. But we only have one security guard, and the metal detectors, they're like old, and we only have like, when it comes to scanning the book bags, the security guard has to look through them. And another thing was that I was wondering if we could get like more of a better security, like add shield protectors to a small book bag. I just want to be safe in school. Also the phone policy, I need my phone for safety because people need their phones for safety. If there's a fire drill, other things, but I feel like protocol wise, we should be able to have our phones in class, and we should be able to contact our parents. But if we're like on it and something else, then that's a different story. But if we're not on our phones and we're listening in class, we got good grades and everything, I feel like we should have our phones, and our phones should be part of our freedom. And we had like a situation where people were smoking and vaping in our school. Thank goodness we had principals that really cared, and assistant principals, Miss Sanchez and Assistant Principal Miss Caraballo. They worked together to look through each classroom because we went on to Code Blue and we had to put our hands. That was kind of scary, but we had to put our hands on our desk, and they just searched everybody, not physically, but they had to search everybody. I feel like that should not happen. We should have more security guards, and if they were searching it really good, not have to
go through.
They could just put our book bags into the thing. We don't have that. It's only a white table they use at cookouts. They use this at cookouts, and you literally just have to push the bag through.
Thank you for lifting that. And sorry you had to go through that, but also grateful for the leaders at your school, and also even your safety and security team that's working really hard. These are the types of conversations I would want to have with students as well as teachers. I know teachers probably have their stories as well in terms of safety, to just see what are the policies and protocols that are in place, and also to make sure our schools are welcoming environments. So want to make sure that there's the safety measures, but then also the students feel safe, welcome, seen and heard in schools. So that'll be important. I'm going to come here, and then, because this one was first, and then I'm going to come over this way. And I think one, two, and then, come over here.
Okay, so I got a question about the student code of conduct. Okay, so I know we got that and stuff, like in school they go over it at the beginning of the year, but I just feel like they should go over it more because like they don't really go into detail on what it is, and they have us sign a contract, but like we're not really understanding what's in the student code of conduct. And my question is, are you going to revise it? Like, you gonna like make something different about it? Because it's like the same thing every year, but it's like it's still nothing is being changed. We sign a contract, and then stuff still is being done.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, in the first 100 days this year, maybe even saw through that. I know it's a lot of different things in there, but a big part of that is doing policy review, seeing some of the protocols that we have in place, and then also just seeing how is it enforced across different schools. You want a policy that the district has that we can stand by, but then every school is different, every school community is different, and so really wanting to make sure that it's representative of our students and our teachers, and so that would be something I would look at, and so thank you for bringing that up. Noah, and then I'll come over here.
So one thing that I'd definitely like to bring up is the fact that we're one of the few school districts in America that has a K-8 model that's public school.
Yeah.
So I was just asking your thoughts on that. Like, do you think that's the successful way to do it, or do you think we should change some of that?
So the reason why I'm laughing at, because it's probably one of the other few districts that are doing the K-8 models is Indianapolis Public Schools, and we based on feedback we've heard from students and the community, we're actually in 24-25 school year, we're going to be elementary, middle school, and high school. And there are many different reasons why, creating the middle school model allows us to have some of those programs I was talking about. It also prepares students for high school in a better way. But then we had challenges with actually making that happen. There are some people that really like the K-8 model. And so when doing that, it was a community process going out into the community. I heard a lot of pushback, lots of feedback, but firmly believe what we're doing is right. Now, I've been asked that question. It's like, okay, does that mean you're doing it in CMSD? And once again, I want to make sure that when I come here, I see what is right for the community. But I have a model of how we did it in Indianapolis. And so that would be something we'll want to see if it's something we can utilize and do.
Thank you.
Good. All right, looks like our time, but I want to make sure I get you guys in here.
Yeah, I was wondering, if you have like a strong passion to rebuild our schools, because it's starting to become a safety issue. Like, we don't have any AC, so it gets so hot in our building. And like a piece of brick fell on my friend's head while she was walking through the hall.
Yeah, facilities are really important. As a matter of fact, in Indianapolis, because of our facilities, we're putting out to vote, actually in a week or so, an operating referendum that's actually going to, if our taxpayers vote yes for our schools, we're going to be able to do facilities upgrades. And so, once again, in that listening and learning tour, we'll want to do an audit of our buildings. And we should not have buildings that, where bricks are falling on our students' head. And so we'll want to look at that. But knowing all of those things, it's a work in progress. But what I am very passionate about, and I have a high bar for, is making sure we have safe schools where learning must take place. And so that's my bar.
This is going back to the safety thing. A couple of things happened last year when I was in 5th grade, and so there was something, our school is next to a police station, which in thoughts you would think that seems pretty safe, but in some ways something happened and it carried into our school's parking lot while some 8th grade students were having recess, and they had to be ushered into a random room and had to sit there for a very long time hiding because they had no idea what was going on outside. And a lot of kids got very scared to the point where they had to leave because they were just too scared about things. So I think safety is a very big thing, and also we have to be completely sure that stuff like that won't happen again, because it was not fun at all, and it was pretty upsetting to a lot of people. And we also there is also a women's shelter next to our school as well, which is nice, but sometimes people will drift over towards our schools. They'll try and talk to us, and it's not affecting anybody, but it does weird people out sometimes.
And cause a risk sometimes.
Yeah, and there's ambulances and stuff that go there a lot. So some people who tour our schools are like, how do you not notice that? And it's it happens too much, so we don't.
You've tuned it out.
Yeah, so safety's a big thing, and also this is. Everybody knows this, but school lunches are really important because school lunches they're not very good. They're good enough for students to just eat, but it's not enough portion wise, and sometimes it's not even safe to eat. And there's also you need stuff for dietary restrictions, like gluten-free or vegan or vegetarian. Stuff like that, instead of just giving a regular small meal.
It's like prison food.
Yeah, so I was going to follow up on that, because I know at our school we've had multiple instances with moldy food and stuff. And I know some school lunches, it's just you get 6 tater tots. But then again, I've heard that some other CMSD schools, I think CSA has this, where they get a fresh salad bar. And while some of the other schools, we don't even have fresh fruit or milk even, sometimes a lot of it's spoiled.
Yeah, no, that would be something I want to do. And then also on the vegetarian side, I'm a vegetarian myself, so I would want to definitely look at that. And thank you for lifting up the safety concern. Okay. Probably I have not heard from Ali, so I'll take that. And I know that they're going to be grabbing me, but I do want to grab Ali.
I haven't actually said anything because you've covered everything I was concerned about for the most part, but in my school, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be district-wide. There's a little poster that has different like extra options, like there's a peanut butter grab-and-go bag, peanut butter sandwich grab-and-go bag, and then there's a yogurt one and a couple others. Those aren't consistently available, but like they would be beneficial to various students. Like the system's already in place, at least at Garrett Morgan.
Yeah.
But it's not consistent enough to actually be beneficial daily. I'm a big fan of the peanut butter one myself because I have a lot of texture issues as an autistic person. So,
Yeah. No, thank you for looking at it. Thank you.
thank you for following up on everything I was concerned about.
Yeah, no, definitely appreciate you guys. I appreciate the time. You know, I could possibly follow up. I know you had another question. You're good, okay. But thank you guys so much. I do want to leave you guys with something. I did not know all the people that would be on until this morning. So these are not personalized, but it is just a note. One, to say thank you, and then also, yeah, just to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.